It's a welcome to another edition of Live Chats on Monday, our second season. Happening every Monday, of course, at 6:30, 6:31, 6:32, time. But bottom line, we are here, we won't miss a bit, and we'll find ourselves live just for 30 minutes only with interesting people to have interesting conversations with. Tonight, we have a special guest. She said to utata Siyabulela Jentile ninjani ke tata?
How are you?
Well, life is good, man. Thank you very much for joining us. And for those, of course, who don't know who this dude is, he's an author, he's a speaker, he's a multiple award winner. I was going through your list of awards. I was like, nah, I'm not going to read all of that. That's going to make me seem like a nobody. It's too many. The list is too long, Dad. This guy is also a dialogue facilitator. Yeah. And I think that the thing that really just piqued my interest and wanted me to have him on the show, of course, as everybody might know, he's the founder of Not In My Name, no longer South Africa, now international. And I think from all of that, just reading I just want to find it for myself, but you've done it, been there all over, and TV, radio, alles. And yet you still remain one of the most humble people in Bazio. Who does not really have that big head, colloquially speaking, of course, that people in your position tend to have? Well, what keeps you humble?
You know, when you talk about the big head, I always say to people, you know, my head is big. So once I start taking all these things, it's gonna be bigger. Then it will end up blowing up. Then I will die. So the only, in fact, if the only way to stay alive is to, you know, to remain humble. But thank you so much, Mshagazi, for that introduction. It's been a while since I've engaged. Now I'm just like you, I've taken some time off to focus on school. But I think the most important thing is to be rooted in the cause. And I always say this to my team, Ubana, the cause is bigger than any one of us. You know, Usia is here today, tomorrow is not here. But the work that I've started with the guys that I've started it with must continue. For example, now, they are no longer there, they're no longer part of the organization, but we are continuing. And I always say that one thing I've learned throughout this journey is that people leave, people take on new responsibilities, new challenges. And that is how it should be. But the work must move forward. So what keeps me grounded is the constant reminder to myself, Ubana, this is not about you. You know, this is not about. I'll quickly tell you a funny story. So our office is in Hatfield, right? Hilda, it's busy. It's a busy street. So I want another school. So you struggle with parking there. So I was looking for somewhere I can cut my hair. So Lomjita out Pakisayo, you know, we call them Nyaupe boys, which is wrong, by the way, but it's a word that is, you know. So we are in Pagisa, and then I drive in. I was a bit far from the office, so I had to park Estrade. So just as I get out of the car, he says to me, and you can see this guy, Chai, like he's out of this world. And he says to me, but I get, you know, you know. So I'm like, this is so bizarre. Let me listen. Modimo is laughing at us. It's why Modimo? No, because he's in charge. And then he's looking at us here, Mofat, they're busy running here, trying to take care of business, thinking that we are in charge, and we are not. So God is just looking down on us. What I'd say at that man. Wow. I thought that was very profound, you know. They may not realize the impact that it had on me, but it said to me, you know, we are just actors. We are not here because we wanted to be here. And people like me know, like you and me, we know this very well, that the work that we do, it's calling. To do what we are supposed to be doing and what we are doing. So, and I'm sorry to make this long, but I was trying to answer the question of how do I remain humble, and for me that's it. I'm not I don't consider myself a self-made or anything like that. I'm here because of, you know, I'm part of a bigger plan of the master that says this is what you must do, this is what you must do. And one day I'm sure we'll have time to talk about this in depth, like my story, how it started. I'm from engineering, you know, how did I leave engineering, civil engineering, and become an activist? you know, one man of God came while I was still at the university and called me by my name and told me God is going to do 1, 2, 3. So all these things that are happening right now in my life, the accolades that you've just read, someone came to the university and told me as a student, 1, 2, 3 is going to happen years later. And those things are happening. So those are the things that keep me grounded and humble, that actually I'm just, God could have used anyone. so there's nothing special about me, just that I hit the chord. Yeah.
No, that's good to hear, man. And I'm sure for some political actors out there, I wish my above, but what is this that you're saying? And hopefully they can enact it in their own lives as well. But as collabo today, back into 2017, you know, Karabo Mokoena passes away, and two prominent hashtags come up that time. One, men are trash, and the second, not in my name. And this second one has found us where we are today, Gengoku. You know, it literally jumped out of the Twitter streets and became the organization that you're president of, Namhlanje. So just take us back to that time where you are literally sitting, you're enjoying your engineering life, and this tragic thing happened to this young girl, and no man, enough is enough. I need to do something about it. I mean, there are millions of other men in South Africa who could have done the very same thing. Anyway, you thought at that time, this is it.
True. Thanks again for the question, Trevor. So for me, I think that was a very, you know, it was a turning point in my life, and not only with the work, but also spiritually, how it all happened, you know. So clearly, obviously, and then I'm seeing all these things on social media. How it started, actually, I was so against this hashtag, men trash, what. I'm like, no, but you know, when you were responsible, why are you including us in these things? But at the time, I did not understand the magnitude of the problem in the country and why this tag was part of the conversation. And you are right, there was another, you know, tag that was at that time, it was I don't know if I should say it was complimenting it or it was coming, you know, in defense of men. That said, not in my name. And people always, when they having discussions about the organization, they tend to misrepresent what we stand for. But this not in my name thing was started by so and so, not so and so. But the idea is that, and I've always said this in all the platforms that I've spoken into, that we did not invent the phrase "not in my name." What we did was that the phrase, excuse me, the phrase just like men are trash. You'll never know who was the first person to say hashtag men are trash. Same as you'll never know who was the first person to say hashtag not in my name. But for me, I was like, okay, so I'm also going to tweet or Facebook, not in my name. Then what? Yeah, but that was my problem. Then I said to myself, I said, you know what? Let me try and organize a meeting in a form of a march, mass demonstration. That will call men to say that it's fine, guess if we men are trash and not in my name, go social media. Let's go out to the street as the men of South Africa and say that we want to register our unhappiness as fellow men to say that we are not going to allow what is happening in our country in our name. And then we started with the mass demonstration. Initially, it was supposed to be men only. But yeah, you know, there are always those forces of resistance who then came and said, yeah, it's men again making it all about themselves. Why are you not inviting women? You are trash. It's exactly what you are talking about. I was like, okay. And at that time, I was not too familiar with the politics of the space. So when they say, let's go this direction, and because now we are trying to please everyone, which is a bad leadership trait, by the way. Try to please everyone, which is an impossible task. So I said, no, everyone can come. And it was a very long, short week, in a sense that everything happened so fast. You had TV, you had radio, you had this and that, and then you had to, you know, deal with it. I didn't know. I just thought, but now you can just say, let's march, and then you march. But you had to apply, you had to talk with the security cluster, and then there had to be marshals, there had to be this and that. But to cut a long story short, we did march. It was a huge success. The conversation started on a positive note. Men were, you know, inspired to take collective responsibility against this gender-based violence and just violence in general. Now I said to myself, I asked myself and the guys that I was working with, but okay, so just we've marched, then what? You know? Then I said, you know what, we need to sustain this campaign. We need to sustain this campaign, and we're going to sustain this campaign. And then I said, let's register this thing as an NPO. We registered as an NPO through social development, registered with the CIPC as well. Then we called it Not in My Name South Africa. Now it was going to be, excuse me, an organization that will sustain the hashtag Not in My Name campaign. Someone needed to take that thing and sustain it and give it life, you know, to have an actual impact that is able to be scaled, impact that is able to be measured. And then that is how it came about. Yeah. And then later on, Sabunba, okay, issues of gender-based violence was Azambi's order. You know, you need to deal with issues of girl empowerment, boys empowerment. You need to talk to boys. Then that's how I got to meet guys such as yourself who are doing amazing work in the space. We had to deal with issues of unemployment. Abantu banakutya, Lomchita is angry because akasebenzi is beating the woman. So there are other socio-economic issues that feed into and influence this violence. And we talk about these things all the time. And then that is why then we said, okay, this Not in My Name organization will not only focus on gender-based violence alone. So we need to deal with issues of education and development, because some of these women are stuck in these relationships because they don't have means to take care of themselves and their children. You know, these boys, they become angry men, violent men because of these negative masculinities that they pick up as threat. So we need programs that will deal with these boys. So we had a wing that will deal with education and development, the resocialization of boy children. And then we had another wing now that deals with gender-based violence. We support victims of GBV. We go to courts, cases that have been thrown out to bring them back in the role. We link up victims with social workers, psychologists. We have rehabilitation programs, you know, with prisons, local prison, because we believe that some of these men can come back into the society, be reintegrated and be positive influencers and give back positively. And then the last one now, it's around food and water relief. We give different communities a month. Like you may have seen the Hamaskral water crisis. We took over 1 million liters of clean drinking water. We travel around the country giving people food packs. We've partnered with ShopRite. So there's quite a lot that we do. And those things all started from that hashtag, Not in My Name. So I'm trying to demonstrate the power of activism when it's intentional. When we can take it from social media and do something that is practical with these things.
And I think interest yam okay, but okay, so we've kind of become a generation, you know, that's a lot different from 10, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, class John back, you know, you remember the marches against apartheid, you know, how violent and brutal the police could be, but still people are back on the streets in Gomso, you know, protesting against this thing and saying that over time, because of this global village thing that the internet has made us into, we've almost slacked back and become what I would term more keyboard warriors than actually street, you know, people who are putting themselves out on the street. Something that you now have mastered. I know you've been arrested a number of times in the last. So now you can now record the rate. So yes, yeah.
No, I was saying, remember what happened outside the Zimbabwean embassy?
Yes, very well.
It was bad. Yeah. Yes.
So it's that thing, but activism is no longer let's literally do something. The thing that you've been saying, I think twice or thrice already, but okay, we've done this, so what? We've done this, so what? There isn't that hunger, you know, to actually really act as in the activism part of life. Are we really saying that empowered internet, or is it really cutting off our legs to actually really march and do the things that will make a difference for humanity in general?
Yeah, that's a very good point that you're making. I think it's an illusion that we're empowered through the use of social media, but I'd say it's 50-50. two sides of the same coin, in a sense that we have these platforms and we thank God for them, because as you said, 20, 30 years ago, we did not have these platforms. They are good in a sense of as mobilization tools. Right now, I am able to put up something online and I get your support, but you are, 1,000 kilometers away from me. But it would take longer for you to reach that message, because the main source of information would probably be newspapers or what they termed wireless at that time, the present day radio. And sometimes the media was so biased that some of these things were not broadcasted on media. So we with social media today, I think it's an illusion that we have a voice. Gandhi, we do have a voice, but it's limited. And I'm saying this, there's this thing called Black Twitter now, right? And you go and have a look. That thing is very powerful. People have opinions, they formulate opinions, they debate, and then there's this culture that I hate so much, which I cancel culture, that will come out of those setups. But you go and have a look, but now, what percentage of the population is Black Twitter? And then you want to now make an argument. No, we've got numbers. I tell you now, there's people in the rural areas and other parts of the country, Twitter banayo, they don't even have internet. Internet they born abana electricity, abana maths. What do we say about those people? Are we saying that they are not worthy of the discourses or the conversations that we are having because you and I can speak English? We can use these hashtags, we can Instagram and Facebook. So that is where I'm critical of social media, to say that it's a good tool, but we need to be careful that it does not create an illusion. Now we've got a voice. It's like for me, when there's 10 of us and then 2 of us are connected to the internet, and then the rest, the 8, by 8, their voices are silenced. That's where I have a problem. But I think also it's powerful in a sense that when you follow these tags, you're able to, follow a conversation about, okay, it's well and good. I love that. But as I said, for me, it's not enough. I feel the actual revolution is on the ground, and we need warm bodies on the ground. And had this country had all these tools, in the past, while we're fighting apartheid, I don't think would have had the outcomes that would have had, because it is for me, Bantlale couching, as you rightfully said, Twitter, keyboard activists. Someone else must do it. I'll just tweet and throw my phone there and watch TV on Netflix and chill. In this course, Ronaldo will go there, and I get a lot of those even now. Someone will phone me, yes, yeah, so what is Not In My Name doing about 123? I'm like, yeah, but Chief, what are you doing about it? So social media has created that culture whereby I can just go in and post something and then I get shares and likes and reactions, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And that is where my problem is. It has done good, but it has also done bad, especially in the causes that we are trying to champion. If a woman right now goes to court, we need to be there physically to put pressure on the National Prosecuting Authority. This man cannot come out. This boy, he cannot get bail. But if we all sit home and tweet, Dross rapist must fall, what do you think will happen? Nothing will happen until we go out physically in our numbers, see Valela court and say, this man, if he leaves this courtroom, we cannot guarantee his safety, and then his bail will be denied. So that is the kind of acting in Ghana activism, because for me, just tweeting and WhatsApping and doing all these things, it's incomplete. It's an illusion that we think we are acting, but you've not done enough. Yeah.
And I think there's some truth, Nyanke, to what you're saying in terms of the balance where, it has almost helped, but almost cut off the legs as well at the same time. Because I look at the Arab Spring, for example, and I see how the internet was very useful in kind of mobilizing Abantu to get out and do something about it. But now, of course, with the internet cuts that tend to happen, the dictators have kind of learned about how to neutralize a population, that's communicating very quickly and rapidly. to you now, with all this Twitter activism and keyboard warriorism that we are seeing now, do you think maybe there's a window where the governments and the people in charge realize, man, these people are sitting at home and watching Sia getting beat up by the police, on Netflix? Does it not actually almost reduce the power of accountability that we have as a citizen against our leaders and our governments ahead of us?
No, it does. It does. I'm sorry, can you just repeat the last part of your question?
No,
I lost you a bit there.
Don't you think the governments can realize that we are now almost not legs on the street, we're not warm bodies out there to put the pressure left?
Oh, yes,
so
yes,
do they not therefore see that as a window to actually take advantage and entrench their powers and their authority over us because Makaya is jogging Netflix?
Yeah, no, definitely, and they do, and they are very much aware. You'd see it. In fact, they are so aware that sometimes they would put information in their websites and the whatever, and you'll pick this up when you go to a certain department, and you're like, yeah, but you're not doing anything about 1, 2, 3. That they say, no, come, go to government. Look at it. This is here, and they capitalize on our ignorance. And I've had this thing has happened several times. I will go there, then they'll be like, no, but Mr. Jentile, these things are here, you're not ready. So it's similar. It's a similar case in that no, South Africans will get away with it. There's nothing, nothing will happen. In fact, I once had one politician I won't mention saying, you just trend for a day, John, and then tomorrow they'll be talking about something else. Right? So it shows you that the government is fully aware, our leaders are fully aware that no, let's do whatever, let's ignore whatever. Yes, they will, protest online, but that will not do anything to our image because tomorrow they're talking about something else. That is why for me it was important, what we've started with the campaign, Not in My Name, we need to register an organization that will sustain it, because I know we use the tag online or we march and then so the media that we call social is very good as a mobilization tool, but mobilization is only that I'm mobilizing you to come into this discussion. What happens now from here? We must act, and that is what activism means. So we just mobilize each other, and then from there, Ronald will do that thing. No, Sia will do it. So and so will do it. So e-government or the leadership, just in general, they are aware of those things. And now they do take advantage of those things. That is why you see corruption is rife. Service delivery. It's so sad now we're going to local government elections. And I'm telling you, these guys, they act surprised. Wow, so and so has not been happening in this area. Everyone is shocked, and now they want to call investigations. They want to do this and this and that. So you realize, they are fully aware. These guys who, they can almost get away with murder. In fact, they are getting away with murder. You look at what has been happening with the killings of what councillors, they're killing each other. Now whistleblowers are being killed because they know that our outrage is limited. We just go to Facebook and Twitter. I'm so angry, then that's it. I'm so Dubai. We're talking about something else, and then the following day we're talking about a new show or a new music video. So there's a lack of consistency in our activism, and my fear is that social media has created a space whereby that thing is allowed. But not just because I've shared your post talking about this issue, that is enough. And it shouldn't be enough. When you create petitions, people don't sign those things. They just look and pass. Because who wants to go into that website and read, what is it that you're petitioning? They don't want that. They just want something that is sensational, for lack of a better word. So yes, the long and short of it is that our leaders are aware that as people, and I blame young people for this, my age group, I blame young people because we've got the power, we have these tools, right? We've got all these platforms, but instead of using them positively, we use them to promote nonsense. And that thing is hurting our process of development collectively. as a country. And now these ones, Abagula Retirement Village is a Cape Town called Parliament. They are aware of this. They are aware of these things, and then they just do whatever. La, young people, la, don't worry. Come election time, but yeah, they don't even vote, those ones, because they did not fight for this freedom. That is not the case. Young people are tired of the nonsense that is happening. Yeah, but yeah. So you've got that thing, Obana. They are aware, but we've got these platforms, but as I said, it's easy positively. Otherwise, we use them, and now they're taking advantage, and we are paying the price for it, unfortunately. So pay. And just lastly, when I'm saying, here's the painful part about it, right? Is that because China, the clever blacks, those who are, aware of what is happening, we are the ones who are suffering most because we know the truth, but we can't do anything about it because we feel that, sitting in my couch having popcorn and just tweeting will make problems go away. They won't go away. But until we put our phones down and say, you know what, we are not going to allow these things to continue in our country, in our continent, actually, and I think that, in fact, as a continent, we are due for an uprising that will be led by young people out of social media.
And we are talking this thing about the retirement village, and Bachinchani is Kundlapa, when I do this and enjoying, the trappings of power, as it were, in their twilight years. Obviously, at the expense of our future, I can still count myself as the husband, but I'm still young. Yes, thank you. Now you come in with your activism, and you come in with your vocalism and your bodies on the street attitude and mindset and mentality. Siyababona abanye who've gone the route before you, or Mamfikile Njanga say, who've actually ended up paying the price with their lives as a result of their outspokenness against, government excesses and, But don't you at some point in time think, Yazba, I am vocal, I am active, but this might actually cost me my life? Doesn't that scare you a bit?
Yeah. Does it cross my mind? Yes, it does. A lot of times.
It's actually, because I asked this question because I know you've ruffled a number of feathers, especially with Siyaman's Kral, and I know by, a lot of people, you're not really a favorite of some of these politicians of ours because of Zonke's desire to expose them. We know about the water crisis. So it's that I kind of frame it to say you've upended some of their things and exposed their shoddiness and their corruption. Is that not something that you feel, like just mentioned earlier, it might come to you?
Yeah. No, it definitely does cross my mind, but does it scare me? No, it doesn't. I think it's part of when you're starting a new position, you get the roles and responsibilities. Because this is part of the package. Because on Genapa on 9, 5. For 30 minutes at 12:30 until 1, and so that. So for me, it's part of that. And unfortunately, every revolution has casualties. Just yesterday, we were commemorating the 44th year since Steve Biko was killed. And when Biko died, he was around my age, in his 30s, early 30s, right? But yet he paid the ultimate price. So what I'm saying is that that's why I don't believe in half activism. Either you are in or you're out. And now, if you are in, you must be prepared that, there's going to be consequences for this. I mean, if I'm going to go against a Danny Jordan on a rape allegation, I must know that he's a big, powerful man. There's consequences. If I'm going to go against a million brand corporate such as MultiChoice, I know that there's going to be consequences. If I'm stepping on politicians' shoes with water issues in Amanskral or Abandabana, I know that those guys get frustrated and they may, take aim at my life. But unfortunately, if that is the attitude and the mentality that we have, if you speak up, this will happen to you. then we might as well just, you know, allow our future to go to the dogs. Akondwe is no answer, then would be a defeated generation. Then ours is it's just a fruitless exercise. We are a waste of space and oxygen on Earth. You know, so unfortunately, it's one of those things that it comes with the space. You know, you watch guys like Abobo Nkosi, not necessarily saying that I agree with his politics, you know, but he's in and out of prison because of supporting Ubaba Jacob. But those things don't shock us because we know Uba. It's part of the space, and it's part and parcel of what we do. So you can't call yourself an activist and then then in fact, people like that they're very quick to sell out, because if you're afraid of dying, chances are that money will also control you. Because if someone comes to you and say, "Hi man, I raped her, but I was drunk, that's 2 million, keep quiet, then it means you'll be doing those things because you are not prepared to go all the way. So for me, I do think about those things, but am I scared? No, I'm not. As I said, that I don't do this because a man called me to do it. I'm doing it because God called me to do it. And I believe that the same God who called me to do this work will protect me and my family. You know, if something happens to me, then God would have allowed it to happen. And that's what I believed in. Remember, God is laughing because we are just, you know, he's using all of us. So me saying I am not and then I would be failing on my calling, and then it doesn't look like that.
And that you know you are convinced, you've got your convictions and you run with them, but it tends to happen. Get married to somebody who is not totally sold, and then wants to see you go and sacrifice your life. How do you deal with the wife, as a last question for tonight? Raising concerns, just bring it back a little bit.
You know, when you're raising that question, I remember when we went to the case as a ENCA, that racist lady, Lindy Denlinga. So we went there. I think we were about 4 or 6 of us, 4, 5, 6, and then we protested 6, and then the management did not want to come and talk to us, and then we blocked the gate with our cars. And she was phoning, "You will get arrested. You will sleep in prison. I'm pregnant. Don't. Hey, but I think over time, she understands, and she's mature enough to understand the calling upon my life, and she's very supportive. So Naya's Azuba, you know, did not marry an accountant who's supposed to sit in the office and do office work, and that's it, or an engineer. The engineer that she married is no longer there. But also that I think is important for guys who do what I do. Family is important. You know, when you do this kind of work, you need to be rooted in family. I get a lot of discouragement from my chief. Why did you marry so early? The Bandwan, I know there's chicks in the streets and all that, but I don't, that is not aligned to my calling, you know. In fact, before politicians, that life, you know. But the long and short of it is that she understands. I don't need to over-explain myself. Because remember the story I told you about the guy coming in at the university telling me God is going to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. She knew all about those things. And in fact, when those things started happening, I was like, oh yeah, you remember. So she appreciates that, and she's very, very supportive. But yeah, you know, it happens sometimes when I'm chatting to Ronald Murungai, like, but you just came in, you're in class, now you are moving from class, you are chatting to Ronald, we need you here. Those are normal. But generally, she's very supportive, and I think that's what we all need. Otherwise, you know, I was living the Mzinenzizwa life. You know yourself, you would not be here looking this nice, wearing a nice shirt. Probably you go to a tavern somewhere, you know. So we need these people. Let's be honest. We need our families, we need our wives and children to be there to guide us and to keep us rooted. And for me, that's another thing that keeps me humble. You know, I don't see myself as a superstar. Just see myself as another guy who's got a wife and children, an everyday Joe. And I think if we can all get to that level, when I'm just doing this, I'm going home to my family. That's it. I think that's what God wants us all to do. But the problem now becomes once we start thinking, when we are celebrities and superstars, there's only one God, and God is able to take away what He has planted in you because it's His. Right? Oh, and we're celebrating, and then we're forgetting the work, and then gives it to someone else. So I think the wife understands that, and I'm very appreciative of that.
Oh, and now I'm appreciative of her giving us this time. I think let me not take too much of it because I'm sure the plate is ready warm instead of the bread and eggs that you probably would have been eating if you were a flying solo young bachelor. So I think just as a final parting question, Dada, you are walking in your destiny, you're walking in your purpose. And you're doing the thing that He has called you to do. Now, a lot of us Christians, 80% of South Africans claim to be Christians, are not living that, and especially when it comes to the activism part of life, where we actually can be making a difference in communities, a visible, tangible difference with our actions. What word do you have for Christians as Fananam, as the popcorn and Netflix, whilst still believing that God is going to make a difference? Oliver and Nasehamas.
Yeah. So this is what I would say shortly. For me, activism does not necessarily mean about you must do it the way Siyabulela is doing it or the way Ronald is doing it. God can use you wherever you are. So He shared that with me here to take me away from where I was, because where I was, perhaps I was not exposed, or the magnitude of what I was supposed to do was bigger than where I was. So that place could no longer, contain what I was supposed to do, or my destiny or my journey. So God is able to use you wherever you are. So I'm talking to a guy who's probably sitting and frustrated. Maybe they're in sports. You think that you can be an activist wherever you are. Activist, I like how you say the first part of the word is act. You need to stand up against injustice, whether be it in the workspace, whether be it in school, in church. Activism, a lot of people don't know that our churches, historically, there are places. In fact, the African National Congress was founded out of a church in Bloemfontein in 1912. You know, the Reverend Talangali Balele Dube, those were the men of the cloth, they were Christian men. So God is able to use you wherever you are. So you don't need to now want to write books like Ronald, and then you think that is how it's supposed to be done. No. It does not necessarily need to be like. But if that is you, that is your calling, then do it. But as an encouragement, God will never call you and not sustain you. You know, when I left my job, I lost the place where I lost my apartment. I lost almost everything. I was staying at Pretoria West in a very nice townhouse, Philip Nel Park. I lost all those things. Siyabulela Sunnyside in a half room. I was staying in Sunnyside in that half room with my wife and daughter. I had only one child that time. You know, I had to start from scratch. I was being supported by the woman. You know how embarrassing that is. Toxic masculinity does not allow that. But because I had the conviction and the faith in God that eventually things will work out, and they did work out, so the word of encouragement will be that just take it one step at a time and don't doubt. You know, that comrade who was walking on water, Jesus Christ says, come. And then he goes, and then I think it was Peter, and then he doubted, then he drowned. Or so don't doubt what God is. And here's the thing about the word of God always confirms itself. I'm sure as a Christian you know this. It confirms itself, it always confirms itself. And when the time is right, He says, I, the Lord, will make it happen, not you. It doesn't say when the time is right, you will make it happen. No. Say when the time is right, I the Lord. So it's all about him. And for me, that's how basic I take this whole Christianity thing. So even the Bible, when it starts in Genesis, says, in the beginning, God. So if you just understand that part, in the beginning, God. It doesn't say in the beginning, my education, in the beginning, your PhD, in the beginning, your experience, in the beginning, your this. No, in the beginning, God. Does not even say your pastor or what. In the beginning, God. So once we understand that God is the creator of heaven and earth, is the one that is in charge, and we just trust him. That will be the message, that I just trust God. And I know sometimes, that this one who talking about trusting God, Silver Lakes, it's nice, but it has not always been like this. There's times where it was extremely tough. But here's the thing, it comes with so much peace of mind and sense of fulfillment. You don't have R1 million in your account, but when you think about the people who did not have water, but now they do because of you, for me, that is the ultimate, that is the highest calling you can ever fulfill. And that is what we should all pursue. And you can only reach that part or that level by totally giving yourself away to God. Say, no, just use me. I know nothing. Lastly, there's a guy I know, a friend of mine. Every time when he prays, he used to say, we are stupid, God. And for me, that is the attitude that you don't want to approach God without human intelligence. That man has been around for, even before the beginning of time. So we just give it all to him, and then he does all the work. And that's what I believe in.
No, as your name says, Siyabulela Tata, and I think it's we must add a title there of pastor, because that short sermon you've just given us really will make us jump out of our couches and act. So
yeah,
thank you for giving
I should
us your
consider
time.
that. Yeah.
No,
thank you so much, Mr. The pleasure is all mine, and I just want to say to you, continue with these chats. They're very much needed. I promise you, we need these platforms, especially moderated by people like you who know what they are doing. I think we need them. And just also maybe as I would say this to you offline, maybe consider discussions around elections, because I think people need to be educated about elections as we are going towards the vote. And this is not the time to be voting for those guys. It's local, voting for a councillor. So people don't know those things. So maybe just there's a consideration, think about. But otherwise, we need this basis. And I really want to say thank you so much. And may God give you the grace to continue doing this.
Appreciate it, Dada. To all of our viewers out there, thank you very much for logging in. I know we went slightly a bit over time, but the conversation was just so interesting. But yeah, I think I'll catch you next week, same time. Next week, we're talking vaccine hesitancy. Please, let's come and talk about it. What is the causes? Why are we doing this? And why should we, if we should, get vaccinated? But otherwise, let's leave that for next week. Until then, it is goodbye, good night.
Thank you, sir.